The NBA has a serious problem right now, and I think it's time we hold Adam Silver accountable. Make sure to stay tuned to hear more. Thank you for tuning in to podcast number 22 of NBA Talk with Jaywalk. I'm your host, Jonah Walkenfuss, and kind of before we go on to these topics, I have to ask, have you subscribed? If you haven't, you should look into it. You should hit the subscribe button. It's free down below. Hit the like button as well. But let's get right into the topics today. So we're going to go right into Adam Silver, okay? Because as you heard in the intro, the NBA has a problem. And who's the commissioner of the NBA? Adam Silver. Adam Silver has been the commissioner for quite a little bit now, and he's done some good things in the NBA, and we're actually going to name some of those things, some of the notable things. Just recently, he's added the NBA in-season tournament, which is now going to be called the NBA Cup. That was actually added last season in the 2023-2024 NBA season. He's added the NBA Play-In Tournament, which is also a big thing in today's NBA. Which was added in the 2020-2021 NBA season. He also added things like the take foul. He's also added where now flopping gets penalized, which rarely happens. And he's also added the 65-game rule, and many more things under Adam Silver. Like, he's been doing good things in the NBA. Like, while he's been adding great things, he's also doing a horrible job at making the NBA enjoyable to watch. And I think we got to talk about that. Like, we got to hold Adam Silver accountable at some point. Okay? The first thing I want to talk about is how horrible the reffing is in the NBA. How superstars are getting favored for calls compared to role players who are actually getting fouled. Okay? In my opinion, a foul is a foul. If you get fouled, it's called a foul. If you get fouled, but you make the shot and they don't call it, that's stupid. Or if you don't get fouled, or if you get fouled and you miss, they only call the foul because you miss. Like, if you make it, it would have been play on. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what is this reffing? And I know a lot of people are like, well, you can't really blame Adam Silver for that. Yes, I can, and I just did. So, Adam Silver's got some good things going for him, like I mentioned, but he's also got some bad things, like the reffing. And I think that's the biggest thing, kind of how the NBA has become less enjoyable to watch. And I'm also going to talk later on how a certain other part of basketball has been more enjoyable to watch. That's not the NBA. But yeah, like with the reffing though, the defense, like the reffing has become out of control. Like, there's some games where there's been a controversial like no call or a controversial call at like the end of the game that's literally decides the game. And the next day we get like announcements from like the head referees or just officials saying, oh yeah, we missed the call last night, or we should have called that foul. Like, why are you even going to tell us this news at that point? Like, you're just going to make the fan base even more mad. Like, why don't you just make the call in the first place? Review the play. Like, I just don't understand. I get it, there's challenge plays and stuff, but like, it's just really frustrating when you see like one of your favorite teams or whatever, like they lose a game because the ref decided they didn't want to call that foul, or they did call the foul when it should have been a foul or shouldn't have been a foul. Like, what? Like, make up your mind and make the right call. Make the call that you know is best. Okay, obviously, refs are human too, though. Like, we have to understand that they miss calls, they make calls that maybe shouldn't have been calls, so we have to give them some sympathy. But it is just frustrating overall. I mean, like, I really don't know how these refs have gotten so bad. And in my opinion, I've heard someone else say this before as well, refs need to get interviewed after games. They need to go into the press conference and they need to talk about how they ref that game. They should be able to get questioned from the media and the press so that, you know, like after the games, people could get answers right away, because referees should not be able to just leave the game and just be completely fine afterwards. Like, they need to be held accountable. And honestly, I think if they don't like answer the correct question, like, or if they just refuse to answer the question, they need to get fined. Like, they need to get fined just like an NBA player would as well. They need to get held accountable because they're just as important in the NBA games as players, in my opinion. Like, referees can also very well determine games. Now, that's not always the case, but they are a huge part of this NBA and just sports in general, and refereeing in general in all levels of sports, in all sports, has been a problem for many years, and I think we need to start standing up for it, and things need to change, and I think we need to hold Adam Silver accountable a little bit because the NBA reffing specifically has been really bad. So let me know what you guys think down below, and let's go into the next topic right after this. As you guys kind of heard my rant earlier about how Adam Silver needs to kind of fix the reffing and kind of how he needs to more focus on less on, I guess, adding things and more on keeping what you have good and keeping it enjoyable to watch, like adding better reffing. But we're also going to talk about how the Olympics were actually very enjoyable to watch, but not for the reason of the NBA. It's the reason of they're in FIBA rules, like the FIBA, which is I believe the Federation International Basketball Association. I think that's what it stands for. FIBA is an international basketball league where teams go, internationally and just be able to play professional basketball on different clubs. And the reason why the Olympics were so much more fun to watch was because of the FIBA rules. That's the rules they went off of, and that's the rules they based off of. So the reffing was significantly better. In FIBA, the reffing is so much better. There's a lot less of those ticky-tack calls and stuff. Everything is called fairly, it felt like. Obviously, there are going to be controversial calls, and like I said a couple minutes ago, refs are human, right? They make mistakes. But most of the time, they were just kind of letting the players play. It was a very aggressive, fast-paced game of basketball, and that's what we all want to watch. We don't want to watch players ISO and then do a shot fake, lean into someone, and get the foul called for them and go to the line for 3 shots. Like, we don't want to see that. We want to be able to see aggressive play and be able to see, teams go at it and use some actual heart, like an aggression. Obviously, it was a little more enjoyable as well because we were able to go out and support our countries and stuff, but I also just think the rules were better. Like, some of the notable rules that are rules in the NBA but aren't rules in FIBA is like defensive 3-second violation. There's no such thing in FIBA. Okay, in the NBA, you can't be in the paint for over 3 seconds, especially if you're not watching your defender and you're in the paint for 3 seconds, they call it as a defensive 3-second violation, and then it's obviously penalized against you. The offensive team gets to take a free throw and get possession again. They don't have that in FIBA. So you can have players stick into the paint. That makes it easier to run zone defense, in FIBA, which the NBA really doesn't do because of the defensive 3-second violation. They also have a different goaltending rule, which I also really love. If the ball is hanging on the rim in the NBA, you can't tip the ball. You can't hit it off. In FIBA, you can. So if a ball is like rolling on the rim or it keeps bouncing on the rim, the defensive player can easily just swat the ball out so it doesn't like get a friendly roll or anything. That just makes it so much more interesting to watch. It makes the defensive players more engaged, but it also just brings a level of, equal play between the offense and defense. In the NBA, it feels like there's so much benefits going toward the offense and a lot less going towards the defense. And in FIBA, it feels very even, and that's what we like to see. We like to see a mix of both offense and defense rather than just offense, which is what it feels like the NBA is trending towards, and it kind of already is in that situation. Like, I loved watching the Olympics, not just because I love sports, and it's the summertime, there's not much sports going on, right? But it was just really fun to be able to watch just these NBA players and just these players in general playing for their country, representing, but also just playing with a passion. Like, they were playing with a passion. They were playing for a purpose, and you could see that. And I think it's because of also these rules that lets them play a little more aggressive. It feels like in the NBA, players are limited a lot, and you've started to notice a lot of players have become soft because of these new NBA rules. I mean, almost every NBA superstar has become soft. No offense. Like, I think almost every single NBA superstar is soft just because they try to get foul calls every single time. Sometimes they don't get the foul calls, but a lot of times they do. And I think, I don't know, like, it's just, the Olympics were just so much more enjoyable to watch. And I don't know if you guys thought the same way. I don't know if you guys watched the Olympic basketball, but I just really enjoyed watching these teams go at it while also being able to play aggressive. It just made the game of basketball, that's why I love basketball. I love being able to go out there and play aggressive. Like, when I was playing, I was always out there trying to be the guy that was trying to wreak havoc on defense. And, even in high school, they didn't call as many fouls. In the NBA, they call every foul, it feels like. You barely touch the guy and they get the foul called on them because they flopped and they acted like they just got socked in the face or something, We need to see more aggressiveness in the NBA, and this is why Adam Silver needs to start being held accountable, and people need to start talking about this, because the Olympics were very fun to watch, and there's not that big of a difference in the rule change. It's just, you've got to be, if you implemented these rules in the NBA, I bet you it would be significantly better, and I think the passion would still be there. Even though they're not playing for their countries, they are playing for the team that they love and they've been drafted to, or they've been moved to or assigned to. I think the NBA would be much better with the Olympic/FIBA rules in basketball. So let me know what you guys think down below. But overall, that is going to be the end of today's episode. This was podcast number 22, which is crazy to think about that we've already done 22 episodes. But thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Make sure to tune into next week, where we will be doing kind of a, ranking on what teams have the brightest future going on into the future. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But thank you for watching this episode. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned for next episode. God bless.